A lot's changing. We've already seen, sort of the intent of sort of how President Biden's going to be sort of looking at protecting workers and sort of that whole thing. We've already seen some executive orders that are kind of giving a hint of things to come. Uh, Compliance has become an incredibly important issue. Uh, it always has been. OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Act, the Department of Labor, which governs OSHA, the IRS, the EEOC. There's lots of governing agencies out there, but in this moment in time, we just see a bigger importance placed on staying in compliance with the laws and rules and regulations that are out there. And what we find is, again, this is a very broad brush. Every client is different. If you're in the healthcare space, the Department of Health, your state's Department of Health, you know what they require. They inspect you all the time. In our state, South Carolina, it's DHEC is the name of it. You're pretty well versed on those sort of state-specific topics. But there are so many agencies and regulations out there that touch so many different parts of every single business. And we just often find, talk about blind spots, there's just a lot out there that you don't necessarily know you need to be doing. As an example, we're sitting here exactly 1 month, away from the March 2nd deadline for OSHA's electronic record keeping rule. And so what they put into place a few years ago is, most companies, not every company out there, but most companies have to fill out, throughout the year, OSHA recordable injuries, and they have to put the summary of those recordables on a 300A log and post it in the workplace. They've had to do that for years. A few years ago, OSHA said, you got to submit that electronically to us. And even in the last year, they said, if you don't, or we're going to start our inspections. We're going to start changing our inspections. If you're not submitting these, we're going to inspect you more. If you have high incident rates, we're going to inspect you more. And they're going to know whether you're turning these in, whether you have high incident rates based on your participation in this. And President Biden has said he's going to up OSHA's enforcement. He's going to staff up OSHA more so that they're going to be able to inspect more businesses so that they can, protect, do more to protect the safety and health of workers, which is great. And no matter which side of the fence you're on in the United States, the reality of the situation is you're going to have to pay more attention to some of these laws because, it's enforcement is going to be increasing and laws are constantly changing. So, it's not necessarily directly an insurance related topic, but again, fines can lead to out-of-pocket losses and distractions and reputational hits and all kinds of things that we don't want to happen. And so we've invested in a platform called Compliance Check, and it takes right now we've got 22 modules, and we're always adding more across a whole spectrum of your business. And these are federal, so we don't get into state specific stuff, but we take a deep dive on a topic like OSHA record keeping, or FMLA, or business income, or EEOC, or something along those lines, where we can really dive into an area and determine how well COVID response plan. I know nobody wants to talk about that anymore. Everybody's COVID out, but there's at least 11 different federal guidances from the CDC and the NCCI and OSHA and the IRS that say these are the things you have to do. And how do you stay on top of all of that? Well, we can take deep dives into these topics and help you find your blind spots, and then give you the resources, the policy language, to really plug those gaps and understand. So it's becoming a very, very, very important part of protecting a business's bottom line. And it's I think it's something that is just going to continue to be important.
We're getting towards the tail end of the hour here. So, Xander, I wanted to give you a chance to. We covered a lot of different things today. Uh, I'd love to hear from you, and maybe wrap up. If a company wants to do better in terms of the insurance, how what 2 or 3 steps would you give them in terms of being able to start down a better path as far as commercial insurance is concerned?
Um, well, I would first want you to take a step back and really understand what is it that keeps you up at night. And I know people say that all the time, right? And that can be sort of the sales, tactic, but really what keeps you up at night as a business? What are the things that are potentially likely to happen or just scare the heck out of you that if they happened it would be catastrophic? And really understand, how are you protecting yourself and your company against those things that scare you? And if something is that important of an issue that is keeping you up at night, or that you think about it constantly, or that if it happened it could potentially put your business under if it's not appropriately addressed, you need to wrap that up. You need to make sure that you're properly insured against it as a starting point. But then you really need to dive into understanding what conditions are out there that could create that loss that you're so scared of happening. And what is it that you can do, or any trusted advisor you've got, whether it's your insurance agent, whether it's your CPA, your lawyer, whoever that may be. Uh, what can you do to continuously identify the exposures to those losses that you can, regardless of whether this is for the insurance company's benefit? We spent a lot of time talking about that today, but for yourself, how can you constantly be identifying the risk issues around that topic so that you can prevent them from happening in the first place? And I think really taking an honest deep dive um, into that sort of area is, where you need to start.
So take stock of kind of where you are right now in terms of what keeps you up at night as the risks,
Mm-hmm.
and start to come up with a plan of action to say, all right, I'm going to start to mitigate those risks. And once you do that, that's when they can kind of come to someone like you, a broker, and say, so here's what keeps me up at night and what I'm already doing. How do I go to the next step? And that to me sounds like that's the type of customer that you want to help. And if they've taken stock of some of those processes, that's the kind of customer that a carrier would like to see and talk to as well.
Absolutely.
Xander, you and I have talked before, so I've always learned something about the insurance industry every time I chat with you. I think that's true yet again. So thanks for spending some time and answering some of my questions, at least.
Sure. Thank you, Vinay.
Thanks.